One of the biggest questions I get asked each week in our Facebook group, how do I keep my temperatures consistent? Today, we're gonna go over that. We are going to talk about the types of wood you should be using in your offset smoker. Second, how to properly use these different types of wood in your offset smoker to get the most consistent temperature. And finally, I'm going to leave you with a pro tip on best firebox management for these types of smokers. You just got a new smoker, you're excited, you're at Lowe's, you're at Home Depot, you're at Ace hardware store. You pick up your smoker, and what do you have right next to it? You got charcoal, wood chips, and wood chunks. And maybe you have wood splits. All right, whole logs. If you buy an offset smoker, let's cover wood chips right now in 15 seconds or less. Skip buying them. All right, wood chips are for electric smokers, in my opinion, that go at the bottom of a pan in a vertical smoker. That's where you should utilize wood chips to get the best flavor for those type of cooks. So if you have an offset smoker, skip it, skip it, skip it. All right, hopefully that was less than 15 seconds. The most common, what people write and say, hey, I'm going through so many wood chunks. All right, let's talk about wood chunks for a second. For a lot of people, the hardware store, Home Depot or Lowe's, is the only place they have a easy supply, and this is what they end up getting. One of the first questions I get all the time is, should I soak these? And my answer is no, you really shouldn't. 99% of the time, you should not soak these in water. All right, they should have a little bit of weight to them. They shouldn't be light like a piece of popcorn. Now, if it's super light like a piece of popcorn, then maybe you should soak them for a little while, because it could have been sitting in a warehouse in a plastic bag for 3 years, and maybe it did dry out. But as long as they have some weight to it, you know, you just want to throw them in. You don't want them soaking wet. You don't want to drench these and then put them over your coals to cause a lot of white smoke. And when I'm talking about white smoke, I'm talking about the bad white smoke. And I did a video on that a few weeks ago of what not to do when it comes to starting and getting bad white smoke. All right, before we move on to starting this fire up and getting in some tests with how you should be maintaining these fires, let's talk about splits. All right, splits, logs, wood. This is what you should be using in your offset smoker. This right here could probably be split a little bit more down, but it's really a good size for this size firebox. All right, so you want a bed of coals and you're gonna put your wood chunks, or hopefully you get something like this. First, let's talk about, where do I get wood splits? All right, the first two places you should go is Craigslist, your local Craigslist area, and Facebook Marketplace. What you'll find happen is you won't necessarily see applewood, hickory, or cherry for sale, but you'll see wood for sale. Contact your new best friend and let them know, I got a brand new smoker. I'm super excited to get into the craft of making awesome barbecue. Do you know anyone that has apple, cherry, hickory, or good oak for smoking? And you'll find out that most of these people are really excited to help you get the right wood. And it turns out 9 times out of 10, your new best friend, your wood connection, has a friend that has a grandmother that's cherry tree fell down the year before, and she is dying for someone to come take the wood off her yard. She might even pay you for it. You gotta get the word out that you're looking for good wood. Cherry, apple, hickory, mesquite, oak, whatever the flavor you're looking for. Pecan, all right? That's how you get your hands for a lot less money than what you're getting with these big store-bought splits. Search Facebook and Craigslist. All right, like I said, talking firebox management, this size is a pretty good size for my firebox. Now we're getting borderline a little too big. I'm a little risk taker, so I'll probably go with this and not split it down, but it wouldn't hurt you to split it down more. Lastly, this split right here is for a huge towable smoker like barbecue pit. You don't want to use this big of wood in this offset, because what happens is this will burn all the way down. All right, it will burn, but once it burns down, there's no hot embers left. Everything's burned down. All right, so it didn't create the bed of embers, charcoal, that you are looking for. When you put 2 or 3 of these pieces in, when it burns down, the next piece is ready to go right on top, a hot bed of new, fresh coal from your wood. Here, this burns down and there's nothing left. All right, enough talking. Let's get this firebox lit with some charcoal, and we'll add some chunks, and then we'll add some splits so you can see good, consistent ways to get your fire going. Open it up, starting with wood chunks. All right, first let's talk about your base layer of coals. All right, I'm using briquettes today. All right, there are a lot of people out here that refuse to use briquettes. Guess what? I use briquettes. All right, forgive me, barbecue gods. I use briquettes because they were cheap, and guess what? They get the job done, because I'm going to put wood chunks on top of it. I'm going to put wood splits on top of this, and that's where I'm going to get my flavor. Now, the reason I use briquettes or lump charcoal to get a base is historically I've stacked wood up to make a foundation of wood embers that are going to burn for an hour and then create my nice coal base. If I was doing some really big time grilling, maybe I would do that again. But this is my backyard and the food has been awesome. So I'm fine with cheating a little in some people's eyes and adding a charcoal base as my heat source. I think it's a great way to maintain a consistent temperature. Now, I don't have much wind tonight. So the idea here is, all right, that's a pretty good sized chunk. But I have a big bag of wood chunks, and every half an hour, I'm gonna grab a handful or a handful and a half out of a big bag, or whatever bag you get, and I'm gonna throw it on top there. All right, and because I want a good, clean, burning fire, I'm gonna keep my vent open. All right, so nice charcoal base. I've added my wood. That should light up here any second. And that's gonna produce the flavors and the smoke that I want in my food. Because I don't have any meat in my main chamber right now, and I let my coals get cold because I put the vent down almost to a complete close, I'm waiting for the fire to really ignite before I shut this chamber, before I add my food, because I don't have a clean fire right now. So I don't need this dirty smoke in my fire. So that's why I have it open. As soon as I feel that the smoke is changing, I'm getting to a better smoke, I'll close that down and I'll start maintaining just by my side vents. It's been about 1 minute, and as you can see, I'm getting a good flame. All right, I'm not getting all that additional smoke that most new people to offset smoking think they want heavy smoke. You don't. You want a flame. Right? There's going to be plenty of smoke particles going over your food. So let's close this down. Getting a great fire. I'm going to shut this down. Because I don't have any wind tonight, I'm probably going to have to keep that cracked. All right. With this smoker, this air vent, there's too much wood in there. It's not drawing enough oxygen to keep that fire going clean. So you might have to keep your vent open just a little bit or a lot, right, to allow more air to go through. Now you're thinking that's burning pretty well. You know, temp's not really that hot on the grill yet, but Kevin, that's a heavy flame. Are we getting any smoke? See, you're getting plenty of smoke. all right? And we have a great flame in there, building up the temperature. That's exactly what you want. All right, see that smoke? That's gonna go across your food and it's gonna make delicious barbecue for you. We're gonna take one last peek, all right, and we'll come back in 30 minutes and see how we're doing. It's been about 15 minutes and you see those 4 or 5 wood chunks I threw in there. So that's a good amount of fuel, but not a crazy amount of fuel, and it's producing a nice heat, a nice smoke. And just remember, if this gauge says 300, which it just did, this area, because I've learned my grill pretty well, this area is closer to 275, 250, 260, and then we're getting to 225 to 250, 50-degree variance here. Lost the light on me, but it's been 30 minutes. You can see that the temperature was at 300. I opened the lid a few times, so this would probably be closer to 250, if not 275. So let's throw another handful of chunks in there and see how we do. Checking my bed of coal, you can see that those chunks have burned down. Grab my handful. Those were a little on the small side, so I'll grab another handful. Let's see how we do. All right, I'm not gonna put, see, I kept a few. I want like a handful and a half, you know, one big chunk, and then take it from there. So that's gonna be lighting up real quick here. As soon as it does, we'll shut this lid down. Now, normally, I would only add wood from the side here, okay? To reduce losing heat, you don't want to open this lid. You want to keep this closed for as much as your cook as possible, and you want to try to feed your offset smoker from the side. Been 45 minutes. As you can see, that apple really burned down. What happened is got a phone call and was talking to my uncle for a little bit. So the temperature spiked back up to 250 as soon as I put the apple chunks in. And at the 30-minute mark, I was keeping an eye on this. At the 30-minute mark, it was around 225. And over the past 15 minutes, it's really started to drop temperature. Every 30 minutes or less, I need to be adding apple chunks in this scenario, or whatever type of chunks you're using. Since we just finished up with the wood chunks, so you have an idea, every 30 minutes you want to be adding, or less, with those wood chunks. And then after about an hour and a half, you're probably going to have to start thinking about adding more charcoal as your base. But let's hop in, because I think we'll be all right. Let's get in here. Ooh, it gets hot quick. Let's add a piece of wood. Let's get this lit up and see how we do. All right, so I added a second piece of wood in there. I got my side box going. What happened is after 10 minutes, I was only at 190. You know, you can see all my charcoal has really died down. So I'm trying to rebuild this fire and rebuild my bed of coals. So I'm trying to get a couple pieces going so that I can reform my bed of coals. Now, obviously, I want to show you guys the perfect way to do charcoal where you never have a mishap. But during filming, my uncle called and I needed to catch up with him, and so I had to neglect my fire for 15 to 20 minutes, and now I'm having to re-pivot and change to get my temperature back up. All right, so my fire was at 190 to 200 for a long time, half an hour. If I was really cooking something, I would have been more attentive. But this is what happens. All right, you have to pay attention to your offset. We're creeping on 300. All right, so we really were able to get that temperature back up by adding that extra wood. But now I don't want to go overshoot too much. So I've shut my side box down and I'm trying to hold and maintain temp. I'll give it one last peek. All right, got a nice flame going there. And we'll check on this in 45 minutes to an hour to see how long we can maintain that temperature with the splits. We are 45 minutes later. It was at 300, so now it is creeping down. And sorry, I misspoke. We're actually closer to an hour later, and the temperature held between 300 to 310, and over the past 15 minutes has started to come down. So let's see. So as you see, that wood burned down those two pieces over that past 50 minutes. So really what I should have done is added another split at the 45-minute mark, because now we're gonna have to play a little catch up. So for these splits, 45 minutes seemed to be a good measuring stick. As you can also tell, that next bed of embers is starting to form. That's another reason you want to add that additional wood. We're going to wrap up this experiment for the night, but you get the idea. The chunks for me are working every 25 to 30 minutes. The wood splits, they've been closer to 45 minutes to keep that temperature range within a 15 to 25 degree fluctuation on these offsets. So that's kind of been the magic number for me. And as you can see, adding every 45 minutes with wood keeps that wood base going, where you don't have to add additional charcoal. All right, let's talk pro tip for a minute. But before we do that, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications so you get notified the next time we come out with another video to enhance your barbecue game. Finally, leave a comment below of what you liked, or better yet, join our Facebook group if you are using an offset smoker. That is the KINGSFORD STOCKADE 49-inch smoker and grill. That group is full of people that just want to help everybody in that group get better at their smoke game. To our pro tip of the day. This, as I said before, is a cheap, or should I say, inexpensive smoker. All right, the temperature is going to fluctuate. It's just going to happen, right? If you can't stand that, if you want 250 and it never to move from there, you either have to spend a lot more money on a really expensive smoker with thick steel, or you got to buy a pellet grill and just hit a button and set it and forget it. It's not going to happen. If the wind changes direction, you're going to have fluctuations. So to eliminate that stress, because there's a lot of stressful things happening when you're new to offset smoking, to eliminate that stress, if you have a target temperature of 250 degrees, allow yourself some wiggle room. If the temperature swings 15, 20 degrees, I'm not going to freak out. Let's see what happens next. All right. Now, if it jumps 25 degrees in one direction or the other, I need to step outside. I need to make adjustments to get that temperature readjusted. Did the wind change directions? All right. What caused it? Do I need to damper down a vent? Do I need to open up a vent? All right. But give yourself some wiggle room. Like I said, this isn't a $1,000 smoker that's supposed to hold temp. And let me tell you, even some of those $1,000 smokers, they can be finicky too. All right. Are they better at holding temp? Absolutely. But just because you have an inexpensive smoker doesn't mean you're not going to make out of this world barbecue. All right. Don't let the swings in the temperature make you lose your mind. Anticipate them, be ready for them, and just roll with the smoke. All right. As always, you guys have been great, and I will see you next time.